Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. We're talking with Jane Wenning out of Minnesota. She is a certified medical technologist with a degree in clinical laboratory science, and she was a former bodybuilder and competitive triathlete. So she knows everything about health, you guys. So we're talking about her amazing 4 pillars of health, along with her 3 C's, which is consistency, creativity, and compassion. We're diving into all of that today. Let's dive in.
My story starts when I was 11 and I was body shamed. And for 10 years, I pulled around that shame in a cart. Depression, anger. I mean, even anger so much as it was hatred. And I remember pulling it, through middle school and high school and into college. And then I was sitting in church one weekend, and the homily was about loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And I just couldn't believe it, because I'm like, how can I love anyone else? I don't even love me. I don't even like me. And so that was kind of like an epiphany for me, that why don't I like me and how do I change that? So then I put together, I kind of merged my clinical laboratory science degree that I was getting from the university at the time, along with my athletic training certification that I had, because I had watched and followed and worked with these athletes and rehabilitated them. So I knew a lot about how the body worked and could come back. So I thought, all right, let me put these together and see if I can create a health plan for myself. And I did. And the great thing about it, well, the really good thing was I transformed my body, but the better thing was I learned to accept where I was and then to love me. And when I started loving me, I was able to move forward and overcome some of the hurdles that I'd been dragging around in my wagon for so long.
Yeah. So when you were kind of holding on to that, how did it show up in a negative way in your life?
Oh my gosh. Isolation, jealousy.
Oh,
I was jealous of everyone that I saw. They had a better life. They had a better body. They had, a better relationship, or,
wow.
whatever it was. So jealousy was a big thing.
Yeah.
The anger and the self-loathing. I mean, it was almost like this heavy, wet blanket that I wore around all the time.
Yeah.
So it was just, and because of that, I mean, I worked with these athletes. I was constantly at sporting events, and they would have, get-togethers afterwards. I was really close with the gymnastics team, and they'd always have something going on, and they're like, oh, come on, do this, do this. I wouldn't, because I
Mm-hmm.
was so afraid that everyone, what they would be thinking about me or what they would say to me. So I just didn't even put myself out there. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a pretty isolating time. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think all of us have that same vibe where we will carry on all the unhealed stuff. So, what caused you to realize that that was something you needed to look into, heal, and find solutions?
well, I kind of had a wrestling match with God, and
Mhm.
it was like, why are you doing this to me? I mean, I know you're a loving God. Why does it seem like you hate me? And
Right.
I just wrestled and wrestled and wrestled with that. And then I had it was like a message saying, you have the knowledge, use it.
Mm.
So then it was like, okay, what does that mean? What knowledge do I have? And then I started piecing together, well, I have, with my clinical laboratory background, I've got, I understand how the body works on the inside, all the chemical makeups of our hormones and, other things, like when the lab tests come back, I can tell people, okay, this is what's going on. This is how this relates to that. And this is why you're feeling this.
Mhm.
And then on the other end, I could see how the physical body on the outside was working and what things could transform it physically on the outside. So
Mhm.
that was the knowledge that I had. I just had to figure out how to put those together. So I kind of created an experiment of n equals one, and I was n, and
Mm.
I modified my eating. I changed movement. But the big piece of it was I let go of that wagon.
Yeah.
The emotional energy piece. I stopped dragging around that wagon with all that toxin in it.
Yeah.
And that was a big piece to helping me transform my body and my spirit.
Nice. So tell me more about the 4 pillars of health.
Okay. So the 4 pillars are recovery,
Okay.
emotional energy, nutrition, and movement. I don't like to say diet and exercise because those have such negative connotations. And they're also attached to have tos. I have to be on this diet. I have to go for a jog or whatever. I want them to be want tos. I want to, or I get to eat healthy food. I get to take a walk with my friend or spouse or significant other.
Yeah.
So so I kind of twist things around a little bit. And a lot of times when people talk about transforming your body, those are the only 2 things they talk about. But there's so much more to the body than that. The recovery piece is just huge. And like I said, when I let go of that emotional energy, all that toxicity, I was able to really move forward in these other 3 pillars.
Yeah. So you speak about the I want to versus the I have to.
I get to, yes. It's
Okay.
not a I have to. It's
Mm-hmm.
I get to.
So how do we switch our mind around that? Because even now I am challenged with having to go to the gym,
I get to, yay, this is my playtime.
you
This
know?
is me time. This is time that I can, our bodies are our temples, right? This is time for me to work on my temple so it doesn't become an outhouse. All
Mm,
right. So this is me time. And I get to go and have this me time and celebrate the fact that I am strong and energetic and I can move my body. Those are your get tos.
right.
I mean, there are a lot of people that can't do that. And when you can't do that, even for a short time, if you're injured,
Mm-hmm.
you really take it for granted.
That's true. I remember there was a time I like hurt my thumb and I couldn't use my thumb.
Mhm.
And that's when I'm like, oh my God, I can't even pick up a coffee mug right now because we
Yes.
take advantage, or what is it? We don't take advantage, or we don't see the small blessings and the
Right,
abilities
right,
that we
right.
have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every day has small blessings. And so
Mm-hmm.
changing your mindset on those
Yeah.
from an I have to a celebrated I get to.
Right.
That's a big piece of it.
How does that connect with eating?
It connects with eating. Again, I don't use the word diet because
Okay.
diet implies that it's going to be short term and it's going to be punitive. It
Mm.
is punishing. You're going to be doing these things that you don't want to do. So I like to talk about diet as nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifestyle and it's not a one size fits all. And
Mm-hmm.
it is also not your path needs to be someone else's path.
Right.
There are our bodies change like the seasons change. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to stay in tune to that. And every season kind of change up our eating a little bit. But the one thing that I tell people with nutrition is that you need to be eating real food. And I
Mm.
clarify real food by saying it either has to have grown from the ground and you're eating it close to that original form, or at one point in time, it had a face. So if you are having bread and you're saying, well, wheat is grown from the ground, yes, but it's highly processed and there's a lot of chemicals added in there.
Oh, okay.
So that, and pasta is the same way. Pasta is made out of wheat but it's highly processed. And the things that are highly processed,
Mm-hmm.
they're almost calling them pre-digested because they break down so quickly in our digestive system. And
Mm-hmm.
especially those highly processed carbohydrates spike our insulin. And when
Oh,
that happens, that's when insulin spikes, it tells your body to stop using fat as energy.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the reasons why you want to try and keep your insulin levels at a pretty low or consistent rate. Um, so for health reasons, you don't want to have your insulin spike. There's a couple of things that happen. Well, it stops fat energy utilization. But then the other thing too is when it spikes, that's kind of a shock signal to your body, because your body always wants to fight for homeostasis or this balance. So when you spike your glucose up by eating something that's highly processed, your pancreas is going to dump a lot of insulin in, and it's going to try and pull it out really quickly. Sometimes it pulls it out too quickly, and that's when you get the crash. And
Uh,
that's when you're feeling hungry. That's when you get angry. So
okay.
when you can keep your glucose levels at a stable level, that's going to keep your insulin more under control. And that's just going to be, it's going to be better for your cognition. It's going to be better for your overall body health when you can keep those glucose levels at an kind of an even level.
Yeah. So what with the four pillars, how is that applied to women who are new moms, who are kind of going through that like mom life phase, because we birthed a child. What how does that play? A lot of my audience are new moms,
Okay.
young moms.
Well, the biggest thing I have to tell you is recovery. And I know it's hard when when you're a new mom, and maybe you're a mom of a couple little ones,
Mm-hmm.
but take the time to rest, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes while you're reading a book to your kids, or maybe while the baby is down napping. You've got to take a little bit of downtime for yourself too, because
Mm-hmm.
it took 9 months to grow that baby inside you, and you
Mm-hmm.
nourished that baby. That took a lot of energy. You got to get
Yeah.
that energy back. And one way to do it is to let your body heal. Recovery is a great time to let it heal, or using recovery is a great instrument to let it heal. And then
Yeah.
also, again, nourishing it with the real food. You don't want to nourish your body with food that's not going to give it its energy needs.
Okay.
So sticking to the real foods. um, if you're looking to put, protein is a great thing for helping muscle recovery, which you had
Okay.
a lot of muscles that were stretched out and really out of shape. And here's the thing too, and it's not just your muscles, but there's a hormone that's given off. It's called
Mhm.
relaxin. As you get near to the time you're going to give birth, this relaxin is sent out throughout your body to open up your joints, to make your joints more relaxed so that the baby is able to pass through.
Wow.
It takes time to clear that hormone out of your body and to kind of strengthen those ligaments and joints again. And
Wow.
protein is a good nourishing macronutrient to help you do that.
What are some protein I guess types of foods that we would be like, that's protein? I didn't know that was protein. You know, what would be considered protein that is unique, I guess?
Protein that's unique. You're going to find a lot of women like to get their protein in yogurt, and
Oh,
Greek
yeah.
yogurt can have more protein. Now, here's the one thing I'm going to tell you is
Mhm.
that in the when we are 30, in our 30s, we start losing muscle mass.
Okay. I'm
So
in my
that's
30s. You're speaking to
okay.
me.
So you really need to pay attention to your protein intake, because if your
Okay.
protein intake is not adequate, your muscle mass is going to decrease faster. And every time you go to the gym, you're not building your muscle, because if you're not eating enough protein, you're not giving it the building blocks to build, or the building
Oh,
blocks to repair. So the researchers have said that between 0.7 and 1.0 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So I know that can get really confusing. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to use 1 gram because I'm blonde. And then for simple math, if you weigh 120 pounds, you want to get 120 grams of protein a day.
Oh.
Okay. So again, if you're going to use the smaller, like the 0.7, then you would need something maybe closer to about 80 grams of protein a day.
What does that mean if I do that and then I go to the gym and I develop that, I work out that muscle,
Yep.
then it grows? What is
It's
that?
not going to it's not going to grow. You're not going to look huge because you don't have the testosterone to get huge. You've got a little testosterone in your body,
Yeah.
but men generally have, and I'm not going to go into the like 700 nanograms per deciliter. Now the nanograms per deciliter, I don't know if that's the exact units of measurement, but they have between 700 and 1,100. That's the range of testosterone that men have. Women have between 60 and 70.
Wow.
So we have so much less than men, but it's a necessary hormone for us. But because we have so much less, we are not going to get the big bulky muscles that men do. So you shouldn't be worried about that at all. But what it will do is it will repair anything that you've got going on. And it will also help to build those muscles so that when you are in your 50s, 60s, 70s, you are not becoming sarcopenic, which is where you've seen seniors who are just old and frail. They have no muscle at all. That's sarcopenia. It's age-related muscle wasting. And in addition to that, here's the other really important and good thing. Yeah. When you strengthen your muscles, you strengthen the tendons and the ligaments right along with them, and you also strengthen the bones. That's important, really important for females because we are at a higher risk for osteoporosis. So super important to get your protein. And again, using that 0.7 to 1.0 grams. Now you can do yogurt, but even a Greek yogurt is going to have 16 grams in a serving cup, 16 to 20 grams in a serving cup.
Yeah.
So think of how much yogurt you've got to eat in a day if you're trying to get up to about 80 or 100 grams of protein.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
yogurt. 160. So that's what I'll need. So with with my mom, she has knees. Her knees are, a thing where it's going up and down the stairs. It's a problem. Yes. So I'm thinking, oh my God, in 30, 40 years, I'm going to have that. How do I prevent that happening to me?
Okay. I will tell you, their story is not your story. It is not. It is not. Both of my parents were super active when they were younger. My dad was a farmer and my mom was a homemaker. There were 9 kids. So they were super busy all the time. When the kids left home and they were empty nesters, they kind of sat back and they traveled a little bit more, but they weren't as busy. And because they weren't as busy, they didn't age, they decayed. It was really, really hard to watch. Both of my parents ended up needing assistance to live the last few years of their life. And relatively speaking, they were young. My dad was 84 and my mom was 79 when they passed away. So it's really a sad thing, and they both had cognitive decline as well because they had let their bodies deteriorate. And that was one of the questions that I started researching is, wow, is that my fate? Yeah. Am I going to decay? Am I going to end up with dementia? And I realized that no, it's not. Your genes, the genes that you got from your parents, only are between 7 and 10% of your health outcome. The rest of it is completely under your control.
Okay.
The biggest things are lifestyle factors. Again, with the 4 pillars, paying attention to your recovery. How much sleep are you getting? Paying attention to your emotional energy. Are you able to let go of some of the toxic things in your life? I like to say that everybody that's in your inner circle is not necessarily in your corner. Know who those people are and push them to the outside. Okay. We have negativity that surrounds us all the time. We have on social media, there's negativity, and the news programs, it's all negative. So we don't need to surround ourselves with people who are also negative, that are not in our corner and ready to back us up. Push those people to the outside. So that's an emotional energy piece. And then the nutrition piece, go back to the real food. And I like to tell people it's not an all or nothing thing. I'm not telling you can only eat carrots and never have a piece of carrot cake. Okay. Carrot cake is great. I love carrot cake.
Yeah.
But know that, know when your body is maybe better at accepting a piece of carrot cake. Maybe if you've got something that's high energy the next day, or if you've just had a meal, that's the thing. If you've just had a meal that's higher in protein and vegetables, they're going to keep your glucose down. So then it's okay to have that little piece of carrot cake.
Oh,
okay. So trying to keep that balance in there. You're going to have the fiber with your vegetables. That's going to keep the glucose down. You're going to have the protein that doesn't have any glucose in it at all to raise that. So when you have that as your base, then you can have that little piece of cake. But what I talk to my clients about too are the 3 C's. The first one is consistency. If you can be consistent with healthy eating, with eating real food 70% of the time or 80% of the time, you're great. That is a great place to start. The next one is creativity. You know, maybe you wanted to get a walk in the morning, but your kids were sick. Okay, you have to find some creative way throughout the day then to maybe get that movement in. It might not be outside, but it might be inside. You know, your baby is down, your child is down for a nap. How about walking, taking some laps just outside around the house where you might still be able to hear them, or just in the house where you can still hear them? Some creative way to get some movement into your day then, if you missed your morning walk. And then the last C is compassion. Okay, life comes at us. It comes at us real, and it comes at us real hard sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to give yourself compassion. Give yourself that grace, because when you don't, then you are just adding toxicity to that wagon that you are going to be pulling around.
Yeah. Yeah. I love those 3 C's, because that can actually be applied in a lot of different categories.
A lot. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Really great, really powerful. What do you think is, like, in my age, right? I'm in my 30s, or even in the late 40s or early 40s. What do you think is an important pillar for us to focus on?
An important pillar for you to focus on is recovery.
Okay.
The important thing to know is that your brain health is super important. And dementia and cognitive decline can start 20 years before you see the effects. So somebody that might be maybe slipping a little bit in their mid 60s, their decline actually started back in their 30s or their early 40s. So your brain health is super important.
Wow.
Cognitive decline, they are considering it. Well, one of the names that they're actually calling it now is diabetes type 3, because when you have cognitive decline, your brain no longer will take up the glucose that it does need for energy. So that's an important thing. One of the things that can help to reduce that risk is getting enough sleep at the right times. And again, I know new moms, this is a hard thing to do. I was up with my kids. It was, wasn't my husband. I mean, honestly, he could sleep through crying babies, puking babies. I mean, you know how it is. Your kids are down the hallway and you hear their little bitty feet touch the floor and you are up. It's like
Yeah,
that mom radar. It's
it's weird.
unbelievable.
It's
Dad
unbelievable.
radar, it's completely turned off.
It's off. It's
So,
off.
but sleep is super important. So
Okay.
when you have a bedtime routine for your kids,
Mm,
create a bedtime routine for yourself,
okay.
because you know that even if your little one is up a lot of times during the night, or if they wake up earlier, or if they go to bed later, they are not their happy self the next day.
Yeah.
That applies to us as parents too.
Right.
When we don't get the sleep, when we are up numerous times at night, we are not our happy selves the next day. And then who do we take that out on? We take that out on our internal neighbor. We take that out on our spouses and our kids, and we
Yeah.
don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So sleep is super important, and the right time to sleep. Our brains actually condense and expand just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit while we sleep during deep sleep, which happens between 11 o'clock at night and 2 o'clock in the morning. Your body cycles in and out of deep sleep during that time. And that's when cerebral spinal fluid is pushed through your brain and toxins are released. If you are
Wow.
not getting that deep sleep, then that's not happening as efficiently as it should. And when
Mhm.
those toxins start to accumulate, that's when you get the brain fog. That's when you become, you misplace things. You're just not as sharp and focused as you need to be.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of like a hangover.
oh, yes, absolutely. Here's the thing, they have done studies when you are minus 2 hours of sleep a night over a period of just 3 or 4 days, it is like driving impaired. You are that unaware. You're just that, your senses are that set back.
That is so interesting. Cerebral spinal
Spinal
fluid
fluid. Yep.
can do that, can just like remove the
Oh,
toxin.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in your body all the time. It goes
Yeah.
up your spine, it flows through your skull, and it
Yeah.
bathes your brain. It protects your brain, but
Yeah.
then it bathes your brain at night. When the brain condenses and expands, it pushes
Yeah.
that fluid through your brain to
Is
clear
that
away toxins.
because you have reached is it like is it the theta? Or I don't know, because I heard something like that with Dr. Dispenza.
Okay.
You know him,
Yes.
Dr. Dispenza, and
Yep.
he
Yep.
says to do the meditation where you're in like hypnosis and then you raise that energy from the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
that the spinal fluid?
The pineal
Or
gland
no?
is in your brain, so that's something different.
Oh,
But what happens? I'm not sure if the theta brain waves are in the deep sleep or not. I would have to go back
I
and look
don't
at that.
either. Yeah, I don't either.
But when you are in that very deep phase, when you are in deep sleep,
Mhm.
which moms are don't get a whole lot of because we've got that radar hearing. But when you are in deep sleep, you are very, very difficult to wake up.
Oh,
When you're in the other stages of sleep,
uh-huh.
you can be woken up really easily. That's the other thing too, is a lot of people will um, they will consume alcohol before they go to bed, thinking that that's going to help them sleep. Alcohol and over the counter sleep aids actually work to put you into a more comatose state,
Oh, and what does that
which
mean?
it just means that your brain doesn't get to the point that it needs to get to. So you don't enter that deep sleep. So
What if
you
you
need
have
that deep
trouble
sleep.
with entering into that deep sleep?
Oh, there's some great, great things that you can do. First one, super easy. Get outside in the morning and get sunlight on your eyes and on your skin.
Okay.
Just 10 minutes a day is going to reset your circadian rhythm.
Oh,
If you wake up and you are kind of in the dark and stumbling around and you're not getting that light on your eyes, your
yeah.
circadian rhythm gets all out of whack. And actually all your organs have their own little circadian rhythm.
Mm.
Again, when you eat really close to bedtime, your digestive system thinks it wants to shut down because that's what its circadian rhythm is telling it to do. But then when you eat and put food on top of it, it can't shut down. So it
Oh,
throws off the circadian rhythm of your gut.
That's interesting too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
get the sunlight on your eyes. Stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed.
Okay. My stomach, I'm asking so much personal questions. My stomach makes all these noises like around 10. It goes all the
Sure.
time. What is that about?
You know what? That's just fluid moving through your digestive system. That's a good
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah, that's a
Because
good
I'm
thing.
thinking I'm hungry. Like I'm hungry, it's 10, but I don't
Yeah.
eat. But
Nope. Nope.
okay.
No, that is just your normal fluid pattern movement through your body. You probably hydrate really well.
Oh,
And then at night when you lay down, your position has changed. So then it's moving this way rather than this way. That's why you're going to hear it kind of gurgling like that.
yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. Luckily, my husband, is used to it now. But okay, good. So, I think there's so much interesting things here. The cerebral spinal fluid, that's interesting. That only comes out when we are in deep sleep. There's no way that we can control that.
No, it bathes your brain and your spine all the time. But at night in deep sleep, where your brain compacts and expands,
Uh-huh.
that's when it gets pushed through your brain.
And
Now,
okay.
and now the cerebral spinal fluid, a little bit of it is dumped off all the time into your lymphatic system. That's like the sewer system of your body. So what toxins it pulls out, it's going to dump into the lymphatic system, and then it renews that fluid because you need to maintain a certain amount of spinal fluid in your body all the time.
Okay.
So that's where those toxins are going to go.
Yeah. That is like something that we need to put in capsules. just, just pop them
No. We do not need any more pills. We do
in.
not need any
Right.
more pills. We need to give our body what God intended. God rested on the seventh day. Okay. We have to make time to rest ourselves.
Yeah.
Rest. I mean, if he took a whole day off to rest, that tells you how important rest is. Get
Yeah.
your rest.
What is the difference between people who can sleep for like 8 or 10 hours and then another person who's like, I'm good after 5?
There is a small portion of the population, and I want to say it's somewhere between 5 and 6%,
Yeah.
that can thrive on 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Everybody else needs to have, they need to be between 7 and 9 hours of sleep is where their recovery point is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
me. I'm a bear. Totally.
yeah, and I know for me, excuse me, if I didn't set an alarm clock, and I have an Aura ring, so I track my recovery on my Aura ring. So it will tell me this is the time that you went to sleep. It'll watch all my sleep stages, and this is the time that you get up. Without even setting an alarm clock, my window for automatically waking up is somewhere between 7.5 hours and 7 hours and 45 minutes. So I know that if I want to get up at 5:30 in the morning, I reverse engineer that and say, okay, this is when I need to be in bed.
Right.
And again, just because I'm in bed for 8 hours, it doesn't mean that I'm getting 8 hours of sleep, but I know that there's going to be a little bit of time to get me into sleep. And I might, wake up a couple times during the night, not to use the bathroom, but because your body flows in and out of those sleep cycles. Even though you don't realize you're waking up, there are points where you are waking up at night. And so knowing that I need that 7.5 to 7 hours and 45 minutes for me, I'm going to make sure that I'm in bed for maybe 8 hours and 15 minutes. So that's how I'm going to structure my bedtime routine, just similar to how your moms will structure the bedtime routine for their kids.
Right. Right.
So if this is when I want to wake up, this is when I need to go to bed, and then this is what my pre-bedtime routine looks like. And I have 2 alarms that go off on my phone. I try not to use my phone or be on any blue lights a couple hours before I go to bed, but I do have an alarm that goes off on my phone that says, hey, whatever you are doing, you've got to wrap it up. You've got 15 minutes before you have to start your bedtime.
Oh, okay. So what do you do? Do you not watch TV or do you
You know what? No, I don't watch TV. There's nothing on TV that that needs to be watched.
No news, no
Oh
sitcoms.
my gosh. No, you know what? This is just one of many shelves I have in
Oh,
my
I love
house. I
it.
just read like crazy.
That's
I
amazing.
just read. I cook. A lot of times I will cook and I'll listen to a podcast. I do a lot of meal prep because, again, with protein being something that is important, if you don't make it ahead of time, you're not going to have it. So in the evenings after dinner, not every evening, but I will make sure that we've got ground beef or ground chicken or shredded chicken. So I make a lot of something, and that's what my family uses as the grab and go. That's their lunches. So if they're going to have, my son is a huge beef and rice guy. So he will dump a bunch of beef in and rice in and grab some vegetables, and he's out the door. That's his lunch.
Oh, okay.
So, but if you don't have the protein ready, you're gonna look for lunch and you're not going to have it. So then you're going to end up eating things that are not going to give your body the energy
Yeah,
that it
eating
needs.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Or processed food. So with pre-made, what was it? Meal preps.
My meal
It
prep.
would be beginner for me. What would your tips for that be?
Okay. When you go to the grocery store, here's my biggest tip.
Mm-hmm.
When you get home, allow yourself, or at least, and for me, if it's on my calendar, it gets done.
Okay.
So put on your calendar, okay, if you're going grocery shopping this day, you're going to get your kids to bed, you're going to spend a half hour and you are going to cut those vegetables.
Okay.
Okay. Put them into a large Tupperware container, and that's your serving for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
The rest of the family can kind of pick and choose. But I have a large Tupperware container that when I get home from the grocery store, the zucchini, the yellow squash, the sugar snap peas get dumped in there. I buy carrot chips instead of those little baby carrots. First of all, the baby carrots they're kind of soaked in some kind of a preservative, so I'm not real thrilled with that. But the carrot chips you can always use as a dip as well. So not as like a scoop for guacamole
like
or some hummus or something. Yes. And then you have that crunch. So you're not looking for a cracker for that. But I'll put all these vegetables into my container, and then I have all the separate containers where, my son doesn't like zucchini, but he's going to grab the carrots and the sugar snap peas. He's going to grab some broccoli, maybe if I'm lucky. If I don't have it cut, he's not going to grab it.
Yeah, no.
So yeah.
So what about the protein? So chicken,
beef, fish, other seafoods, turkey. You know what I have? They're called protein poppers. And I have a recipe kind of list of how to make their little meatball size protein.
Ooh.
But like my chicken ones, I use ground chicken, and I put in buffalo wing sauce and wild rice and blue cheese.
Yum.
And then you just make them like little meatballs. Each one of them has 5 grams of protein. So if you're running out the door in the morning, you can grab 5 or 6 of those little protein poppers with some veggies. And then you know what, you've got in that meal, you've got 25 to 30 grams of protein.
Yeah.
You're getting a little bit of carbohydrate in the wild rice that's in there.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're fueling your body so well.
With good stuff. So did you make that as a meatball?
Yes, I make them as meatballs. And here's the thing. I do them in little mini muffin tins. So I just stick them in the little mini muffin tins, pop it in the oven for 20 minutes. And then I've got like a dozen, or not a dozen. I've got like 24 little meatballs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like that. And blue cheese. That's the one that makes it yummy, that blue cheese.
Yeah. And so I use actually a vegan blue cheese because the people in my house and myself, we can't do cow dairy. So I use a vegan blue cheese in that, and they come out great. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I need to start doing that. We are not eating as good as I like. It's kind of almost like, my clients will be like, I don't know how to create content consistently, like every day. And the way you just said about how to meal prep, but it's
Yes.
like the way you know how to meal prep, it's like second nature to you. It's like,
Oh
this is what
yeah.
I'm doing for the next 30 minutes.
Yep.
You have
Yep.
that in your mind. It's a part of your compartment of things that is a
Yes.
go-to.
So yesterday, one of my meal prep things was I took a bunch of these vegetables and I cut them all up and put them in a big bowl and dumped a bottle of an Italian dressing on them. And the Italian dressing is made, I use ones that are made with either olive oil or avocado oil,
Okay.
because those are two really, really good oils for you. Not the canola oil, safflower oil. That stuff is not
Corn.
healthy for your body.
Oh.
But so I made this big bowl, and it's a big bowl of all these cut vegetables, and
Uh-huh.
put the dressing on so that they would marinate, right?
Mhm.
So now the next day, if I have grab and go, I have got some little chicken fingers, protein chicken that I made. I can take a scoop of that. If I want to put in a little wild rice, I can mix that into my salad and dump my chicken on top, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Now, there are some days where, you know what, because I do cycling. So maybe I've gone on a 60-mile bike ride
Yeah.
and I know I'm going to need to replenish my glucose stores. So I might add two small scoops of the wild rice, but I'm
Okay.
still going to keep my protein high. So that's where, when you have a base like that,
Mhm.
then you can kind of modify things. So today, maybe I didn't get my cardio in.
Right.
I am not going to need all that wild rice. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on the top.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you can take these bases and you can create them to match your energy needs.
Right. Yeah. No, and that is so creative. And it's really just more being able to piece together things that are high in protein and, like you said, grows from the ground or has a base.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So really powerful. So what, I took notes down on the three C's only because the three C's is just such a clever way to be able to put it in your lifestyle.
Yes.
What do you recommend to people who, probably don't have a consistency of anything, right? And then also don't feel like they're creative enough to do the thing. And maybe they are not as compassionate enough to themselves and to others
Yep.
because they have so much healing they need to do.
Sure.
What would you recommend for them to help them with the three C's?
First of all, I would say that your consistency and my consistency are very different. So
Mm,
you start where you are. If consistency to you right now is one meal a day, you are going to eat vegetables, because
mhm.
maybe vegetables is your pain point. You don't like them for whatever reason. There are a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so your consistency right now starts with one meal a day. You are going to get a serving of vegetables. Start there. And then over the course of maybe a couple weeks, bump it up to 2 days, or two meals, or maybe a meal and a half, until you are getting a few, I would say like 5 servings of vegetables in your diet. Try not to go too heavy on the fruit, because there's a lot of talk out there right now about the sugars in fruit. They are processed very differently in the liver
Oh,
than the sugars from your pasta or your bread.
right.
So keep your fruits to a minimum, but start where you are. Okay, that's the first thing. And creativity. All right, well, you were going to get your spinach in your omelet that morning and that didn't happen. So, you know what? Here's your creative thing that you need to do. You need to get your carrots and your hummus, or your carrots and your guac for dinner. I mean,
Mm,
Maybe it's not something that you normally do. Maybe it doesn't even fit with what you're serving, but you know what? Get creative and do it.
Okay.
All right. And then as far as the compassion piece goes, you have to let go. You just have to let go. But on the flip side, I would say, I work with people who maybe they lose 5 pounds and then they want to reward themselves with a piece of carrot cake or a piece of chocolate cake or whatever it is. And I would suggest you not doing that, because there's so much guilt tied to food. Until you have got a handle on pushing away that guilt, don't go there. And plus, here's the thing. You're going to eat that piece of cake, and where is it going to end up? I mean, is that really a reward? It's either going to end up on your hips or in the toilet. Neither one of them are a reward. So pass on the cake.
Exactly.
And you know what? If you want to really reward yourself, then say, all right, if I was consistent, whatever my consistent was this week, this is how I'm going to reward myself. My daughter does this in a different fashion, but she has a little jar. And when she is consistent with what her particular goal on something is, then she puts marbles in this jar. And then when she gets to a certain point, she can turn those marbles in and use them for TV time.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
So if one of the things you're trying to do is limit your time on your phone, that might be a good exchange. If you can be consistent with your eating, give yourself a marble, and that's more, or that's allotted social time.
Okay. Yeah, that is actually creative.
It is very. I used to do that with my kids all the time. They couldn't have their screen time. They couldn't have their computer time unless they did what they needed to do, their homework and household chores and, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
But then they could stockpile their marbles and use them on a weekend when they had more time. My oldest son was just loved the computer. So I told him, okay, you get 15 minutes of computer time every day. When he knew that he was at least going to get that, he could be more on point with doing the things that he needed to do. And then when he did those things, then he got more computer time that he could cash in for the weekend.
Wow. Yeah. And that's good for like even, parents who are teaching their child to eat healthy.
Yes. Yes.
So that's really
good.
good.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it was so amazing to be able to pick your brain on the 4 pillars of health. Where can we reach you, find you, work with you?
Well, first of all, again, thank you for inviting me. I hope I struck a chord with your audience, because health can be very overwhelming and it doesn't need to be. You just need to find a lane and stay in the lane. So your audience can reach me at the number 4-pillarshealth.com. That's my website. They can see, I have some free things up there. I have a survey that they can take to see which one of their pillars might need help, might need the most help. And then once they take that survey, then I'll reach out to them and send them a link for a free 30-minute call, giving them some instruments. I don't like to say tools, because to me, tools are big and heavy and clunky. Instruments are what a surgeon uses. Instruments are what make fine changes and cuts. So I can give them some instruments that they can put in place quickly and start to see some changes. So the best place to get hold of me is on my website, the number 4-pillarshealth.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jane. We appreciate your time today. And it was such a valuable conversation for many of us who are learning how to, heal where we're at right now, and then also balance eating well and taking care of our bodies.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I love being here.